Look at some of these visuals, Verghese. The entire national capital region brought to its knees, and we'll come back for the comparison between Noida, Gurugram, and Delhi. What's happening where? Schools are shut all across these three places. In the national capital, some linchpin roads like the Ames Highway, that loop of flyovers, that was completely inundated. The Pragati Maidan underpass has been stopped for any kind of traffic, and schools are shut. Trees are uprooted. Some 200 complaints of waterlogging in their areas. Some 13 complaints of houses and walls collapsing. The Delhi fire services were deployed and were mobilized in various areas across the national capital. What are you picking up first and foremost? Every year we come back and ask the same question: who's behind this? But do you think it's time we get an answer for that after a record rainfall of 41 years?
Well, we are going to see record rainfalls, and we are going to, in fact, see flooding in the comparable future, because Delhi as a city has, in fact, grown over the years, and it is a city that has always been remade. So the natural question is, when you're doing town planning, there's an issue about whether you know the natural drains of the city. So how is the natural drains of the city that is built over here? So we have to first find out whether the drains, as we call it in Delhi, if they exist or not, or the natural drains have been, clogged up. Have they been encroached upon? Have they been completely taken over by constructions? Or have it been remodeled to suit a certain this thing? So if you're remodeling the drain, of course, you might be going against a natural gradient, but you have to create a gradient for the water to flow. Water, of course, like all of us know, finds its own level. It doesn't flow against the gradient. It flows according to the gradient and towards, towards the lower side. So when we talk about it, the drain system of Delhi is something that needs to be looked into, whether the remodeled drains are right in their gradient, whether they follow the natural gradient of the land. If they are not following the natural gradient of the land, of course, we are going to find out, in a harsh reality hitting our face when our roads are flooded and our waterlogging happens and there is no way for the water to move. This is one aspect of it. But Kabir, there is something called sedimentation and the most problematic of all, disposal of garbage in tertiary as well as secondary drains. So when secondary drains and tertiary drains have a lot of garbage, that is the easiest way where a lot of people just dump their garbage, and that garbage tends to clog. And once it starts clogging, it becomes a chain reaction. It becomes a chain reaction to the point that even the main drain is unable to take on the load because the water is not moving away from the main drain, or rather is not moving into the main drain. This will result in water clogging happening across the place, and this later turns into what we call as waterlogging. So sedimentation and garbage could be one of the reasons. So what normally happens is, during the summer months, you tend to clean up your drains by removing the sedimentation as well as any sort of garbage that could be piling up, that could be blocking the culverts. This could be the reasons why things could be bad. But then there is the other bigger question. Have the drains been encroached upon by construction activity? Have they been modified without the knowledge of the city authorities in a manner that leads to stagnation of this thing? Again, the problem is when it is modified without the knowledge of the authorities. What happens is that privately, when you remodel that particular section of the drain, you might not know whether it's following the gradient or not. There would have been a particular gradient that had been followed from kilometers together to allow the water to flow in such a manner that it moves out of the region.
Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, he's cancelled all government officials' leaves. He's called for this special meeting on Yamuna as well, even as we're expecting the water level in Yamuna to rise as well. That could be quite catastrophic for Delhi and Noida as well. We're looking at shots of the house right outside Atishi Marlena's house, Delhi ministers. This is the situation, and she was on the ground taking stock of the entire situation as well. But what does this showcase? The Delhi government, cancelling all those leaves, asking all the government officials to hit the ground running and assess what's really happening on the ground. Does this showcase that the Delhi government was sort of caught napping, and now it's trying to do as much as it can, at least for optics, it's happening?
Well, for optics, of course, in politics, all optics works. So leaders being on the ground could be. But is it something that could have been avoided? And if it could have been avoided, what could have been the measures that should have been taken to get it avoided? So that is the big question that would be asked, and therefore I think the politicians themselves will have to ask those questions, saying as to what could be the reason. Look at those visuals. I mean, this actually points to the fact that there is no way for the water to move out. So which means either the gradient has been, messed with, and that's why there is no proper, water going out. There is a huge blockade in the tertiary as well as the side drains of that particular structure. So this in fact points to that the side drains have been technically completely been overwhelmed, and that's why there is no way for the water to move. Or this could be, in fact, the side drains in this area could be fine, but further downstream or further down the drain network, there could be a problem of a blockage that could have led to this kind of flooding happening, and it would have resulted in water accumulating and later water not moving from that area, and then of course water spreading out in these residential areas. So right now I think these are the aspects that have to be looked
We're
into.
looking at Atishi Marlena's residence, well, the visuals right outside
We see
her
that
residence.
there's huge infrastructure close to that place also.
Right. Let's quickly listen in to what the Delhi minister had to say, and then we'll come back for more.
कल सुबह तक हथनीकुंड बैराज से हर घंटे में करीब 45,000 क्यूसेक पानी छोड़ा जा रहा था। अब वो संख्या तकरीबन 3 लाख क्यूसेक प्रति घंटे पर पहुंच गई है। ऐसा लग रहा है हमारे कैलकुलेशन के हिसाब से कि कल सुबह तक जो वाटर लेवल है वो डेंजर मार्क से ऊपर पहुंच जाएगा। अब सवाल ये है कि अगर लगातार फिर भी बारिश चलती रही, क्योंकि हरियाणा में बरसात हो रही है, उससे पीछे हिमाचल प्रदेश में बरसात हो रही है, तो आगे चलते हुए और कितना पानी आता है, इस पर हमने एक पैनी नजर बनाई हुई है।
Well, how important is it, for these political parties to come to a level ground and, shake each other's hand, meet each other halfway? Because time and again we've seen how the Haryana government and the Aam Aadmi Party government, be it the frothing in Yamuna, be it the pollution in Yamuna, or, water sharing, all kinds of water politics. Haryana and Delhi haven't really seen each other eye to eye. How important is that, and has that impacted the kind of situation we're looking at, or is this just purely a planning problem and we need government agencies to now collaborate more with
Kabir,
the ideas of the
when you
resident
have a
welfare
situation like
associations?
this, I don't think so any government is like going to ask us how much of water you're going to leave or how much of water you're not going to leave. I mean, nobody is going to look at, of course, when you have a dry year, people would fight for that water. But right now, with excess water being let out, and I think what the minister was saying also is that it could reach the danger mark. The question is that we are looking at probably the Yamuna bursting its banks. So they are, of course, continuously monitoring the situation because it's still raining in the hilly areas and in the catchment areas right now. So the water is bound to, inflow is bound to increase, and that is going to be the situation. So the question is, are we prepared for it or not, is the big issue that we should be looking at right now. Because if Yamuna, of course, bursts its bank, there are so many residential areas that would be coming under its way, and water will take time, a lot of time for it to drain out. But I think, are we prepared for it? That is the big question, and probably the close monitoring of it, saying that the Yamuna is flowing above the danger mark or something, would be a likely warning of that possibility.
And it seems like it's not just a wake-up call for the government of Delhi. It's also a wake-up call for the residents of the national capital, because we're taking a major loss here. And you rightly pointed out that people throw their garbage out and don't really see how in months to come it's going to come and bite them in the back. It's your cigarette buds, your toffee wrappers that you throw outside of a moving car also, that go and jam up the entire drainage system. What needs to be done now in terms of government intervention?
Well, government, we have to just wait and watch for the water to first settle down. And probably the extraordinary situation on the Yamuna, if it comes down to a much acceptable level and probably is on the normal flow again, then we can wait and see as to what the next measures should be. And it is very simple. It is desilting the drains, ensure that the tertiary and an audit of the tertiary as well as the side drains are carried out, and secondary and tertiary drains especially needs to be carried out, because that is where the propensity.
Look at that! Look at that, Verghese! Look at that, Verghese! That's an entire. I think this particular area that the road has caved in can fit a tempo traveler as well, a small-sized bus. and the police is already there. Traffic snarls and traffic updates is something that the residents of the national capital are going to be looking at, and not just the national capital, the entire NCR area. These are visuals from Rohini, the national capital region, where people are, now having to change their routes, change their roads. That Pragati Maidan, underpass, that's very crucial for the moving traffic in the central part of Delhi. And with that being shut now, people have to alter their routes, and that's going to create a different set of traffic snarls as well.
Exactly.
The Central Water Commission said that the water level in the river Yamuna is expected to surpass the danger mark of 205.33 meters on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Shahadra District Police visited Yamuna floodplains and has alerted the residents about the rising water level. The police also urged local residents to shift to a safer place amid the rising levels of Yamuna.